Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to wait another minute as people come in. All right, so to get this started, hello everyone. My name is Emily Collins Garcia. I am the coordinator for International Student Integration. I work in the Center for Diversity and Inclusion and OISS. So happy today to be the moderator for the International Alumni Panel. I'd like to just thank everyone, all the panelists who are here today, and also mention that this is sponsored by the Office of Alumni and Parent Engagement, ISO, OISS, and the AMICA Center. We will have a Q&A at the end, but if you have questions that come up during, you're welcome to throw them in the chat, and then we can get to them at the end. So to start off, I'm going to hand this over to the panelists to make an introduction. If you can say your name, class year, where you're from, where you're working, and how you got there.
I'll start. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see familiar faces. Hi, everyone. So I'm Luisa Martinez. I graduated last May, the pandemic class with George and Juan. I majored in management with a double minor in economics and French. As I said, I think I'm from Mexico, and right now I'm working back in Mexico with Nestle. I'm doing their trainee program, and yeah, I got there. I'll tell you a little bit more about it when we talk, but I literally just saw like their post on LinkedIn, and it was the last day to apply. So it was a long process, but I'm really, really happy. It's a very competitive program, but I'm really liking it.
I can go next. Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. My name is George Gill, and like Luisa said, we graduated in the class of 2020. I'm originally from County Cork in Ireland. I came over here to play soccer and study over here as well at Bryant. I was a global supply chain and applied analytics concentrations. I'm now working with a company called Avtech Software. We're in the business continuity market. We develop devices to monitor facilities to prevent downtime. We're located here in Rhode Island as well, so I'm still living local in Providence. And I can explain a little bit more how I got there, just in terms of leaning on professors and trying to network your way to trying to find a job.
So I guess I can go next. Hello everyone, my name is Juan Gonzalez. Again, class of 2020 pandemic year. I was a finance and applied analytics major student. I'm currently working in London for Bloomberg as a data specialist. How I got here, I just sort of saw a job that required a Spanish speaker, and it was, the lucky one. And I'll go into a little bit more detail later on and just some tips, but that's how I got here.
I guess I can go next. Hi, everybody. I am Thobani Nxumalo from Johannesburg, South Africa. I graduated in 2019. I was an applied maths major with a concentration in applied stats and double minor in finance and econ. And I am currently based in Newark, New Jersey, and I work for Prudential Financial in their international insurance as a modeling actuary. How I got there is a long story, and we'll go into the details once we get into that topic of discussion.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy from Beijing, China. I graduated summer 19 with Kobe. We're the same major, actuarial math and applied stats concentration. I have a minor in information systems, and I'm currently working in Voya Financial in Hartford, Connecticut. Long story short, how I got here, I basically got this job from career fair, so definitely go to that when it comes.
and we can talk more in detail. And Voy Financial is a retirement company, so we take care of people's retirement funds, 401k. So yeah, that's it.
Great, very nice. Thank you. We're so excited to hear more about your stories and how you got where you are. So to kick this off, I'll give everyone a chance to just say how international students should prepare themselves for the workforce. So you can each take some time to answer this.
I can go first if that works. So for me personally, when I was a student, I was almost blue in the face by applying to internships, applying for jobs just through websites, through LinkedIn and stuff, and you never hear a response because you'd always get the same answer within the job application and be like, we do not sponsor, we H1B required, so on and so forth. So the thing that worked out for me very much was looking towards professors and people that you know in terms of your network and seeing who they can talk to, see what they can help out with. I was lucky enough, in a sense, two professors in particular, Professor Chris Rothline and Professor Teresa McCarthy, put me in touch with Rick Grundy, my now boss with Avtech Software, and they had a subsidiary in Ireland. So obviously it was a good fit. Ended up working with it, doing an internship with them, and now I'm currently working as a supply chain analyst with them. But going back to that, I would say being prepared to be frustrated. It takes time, a lot of patience, and like I said, a lot of frustration. So if you can, and there's a professor that you're close with, you have a good relationship with them, chances are they've probably worked within the industry that you're looking to get into, or they know people working within the industry. So lean on them, talk to them, explain your situation, explain the frustrations that you're going through, and see what they can do to help you out.
Great, thank you, George. Would anyone else like to share how international students should prepare themselves for the workforce?
Yeah, like George said, prepare to be frustrated. I think Juan and George can agree with me that graduating, when the pandemic hit was like huge. I wanted to stay. I had my OPT ready and I was, looking for jobs. And as George said, everyone's asking, you need your sponsorship and whatnot. So you need to relax and know that everything's going to be okay. First of all, that's the first step. Like, don't compare yourself to other people, to your friends that already have jobs. Everyone's on their own path, and you need to be patient with yourself also to know what you really want to do. What I did, I knew I wanted to be in a big company that I could learn from, because I didn't know exactly what kind of job I wanted. So I was looking for a big company that had, kind of this program in which I'm in with Nestle, which is rotational. So you basically rotate every 6 months in different assignments. So you get to learn from different, parts of the corporation, and at the end you can basically choose where you want to stay. So I knew I wanted to keep learning. May it not be at school, but in a real life job. So just ask yourself what you really want to get out of a job, what you want to have, and be patient. Everyone's on their own path, and everything will work out in the end.
Luisa, that's some great life advice right there too, not just on the job search. That's great. Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to add to this question?
Kind of going off with what George kind of mentioned about the sponsorship. So I know like a lot of people say like companies do provide sponsorship when it comes. And so for example, Toby works at Prudential right now, and Prudential say we don't sponsor. And Toby is an international student. So when you have network with them, or you have the relationship with them, they sometimes do make exceptions for you. So never get turned down by those companies saying we don't sponsor. It doesn't hurt to submit your resume, and sometimes if they think you're a perfect match, sponsorship is not a big problem, because a lot of time you will see on those sponsorship lists that lots of companies that have sponsored a lot of H-1B people every year would say they don't sponsor. So apparently they do sponsor, but probably just not for this position. And a lot of times they actually do, but they just don't want it to get overwhelmed with the international candidates. So don't get frustrated about that. And also about the sponsorship, I guess it's really important to know what companies are sponsoring publicly. I remember sophomore year, I literally applied to almost all the insurance companies around here. and most of them rejected me because they don't sponsor. So from that experience, I learned what companies actually do sponsor. So my third year in junior year, I only focus on those companies do sponsor publicly, and to know more about the company, to kind of aim for those companies rather than just widely spread my resume. And another advice I would say is, say I'm an actuarial major student. So when I was looking for jobs, I literally only looked for actuarial positions. But I remember when I talked to Kevin about the sophomore year, he literally sat with me for half an hour. I started to look at random positions that might actually match my background, that really give me more opportunities for other jobs. So I think it's really important to have a wider perspective about what you can potentially do. If you're interested in data, there are a bunch of things that you can do associated with data. It doesn't have to be a data analyst position if you couldn't find one.
Great. So it kind of sounded like you narrowed in for the companies, but you also were open in regards to what you could potentially do with your degree.
Yep.
That's great. All right. Toby, Juan?
Yeah, I think I can add a little bit here. So I'm working in London, and sort of my advice would be keep an open mind. I think when I was applying, I was, again, like Tammy said, I was focusing independently on the investment banking jobs in New York or in Boston and Salt Lake City. And it was, it's a very competitive industry. So I was limiting myself, but once I started looking abroad and into different positions within the industry, I was able to find different jobs that actually maybe better suited my profile and my skills. And I was lucky enough to sort of come across this position, which was a blend of, all my skills. It required a second language, it required technical skills and financial product knowledge. So you never, if you start narrowing too specifically into an industry or a job, you're limiting yourself. The market is very competitive. Jobs at the moment are very saturated. The market is very saturated. So I would recommend keeping an open mind when applying. And like everyone said, like do your research and you should be good.
Very nice.
I just have one more quick thing to add. I'd like to hammer home what George mentioned about the power of your network. In my experience, that was the most important thing for me in my experience when applying for jobs, was reaching out to different alumni in the companies I was interested in, and getting my foot into the door via informational interviews, which is where you talk to people in positions where you would like to pursue. And it's a way for them to get to know who you are and for you to get to know more about the company that you're interested in, the industry that they're interested in, and the work that they do. And then from there, your foot is in the door. They have your name, they have your resume. And if you show enough interest and make a good impression, they can pass you along to people and circumvent some of the standard procedures that US citizens can use to get a job. So that worked out for me. And I think a similar experience happened with George as well. So I definitely try that as an avenue.
Very nice. So moving on to the next question here. With regard to your job search, what resources did you use? And what, in hindsight, would you have done differently?
As I said before, I found my job on LinkedIn. I never would have expected to see a post and be like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And today is the last day to apply. So definitely update your LinkedIn if you don't have an account, or if you have it and you haven't like logged in a year like I did. Just have it up to date, add your like friends, your professors, that you get along with. That's a way to network, as Toby and George were mentioning. And as I said, it was the tool that I used like to get my job. So definitely a good one. Also, I remember the resume rallies that happened at Bryant. That was really great for me. To just tailor your resume to highlight your strengths and to know how to like land it or modify it to fit a job. That's really important. You shouldn't use the same resume for every position you apply to. so you need to like tweak it and make it fit for that position. So with practice and going to this resume rallies where you have, you know, companies looking at them and telling you like, well, we look at this, we look at that, you can kind of get an idea of how to fix it or change it based to where you're applying to. So definitely use that. And in hindsight, I would have used my professors more. I know I have a great relationships with a lot of professors, but I never quite asked them directly like, hey, can you help me get a job? Like, if you have a good relationship, you can ask that. I'm sure like your professors will love to see you succeed. So, you know, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed, just ask them, and I'm sure they will help you out.
Great. So LinkedIn, and then also at Bryant offering resume rallies or just the AMICA Center in general and the resources that they provide, and getting in touch, that networking point again with different professors. Very nice points. Would someone else like to add about the resources that you used and something that you may have done differently?
Yeah, one small point I'd like to make is definitely tap into the resources within the international office. When I first came over, I didn't even know what CPT was or OPT, never even heard about them. And obviously, if you're trying to work in the US, that's going to be a massive, massive factor. And I'd advise early trying to understand them processes, what they actually are, what it's going to entail for a company to take you on through CPT or OPT. I went to career fairs sophomore year, and I used to have to tell them, be like, oh yeah, I need sponsorship. And they were like, what does that entail? And I didn't necessarily know. So I had to obviously go back, do my homework on it, and then go back to them. You can obviously have a conversation with them. And like Toby said, you can sell yourself to them a lot easier when you know, and make it easier for them to explain the whole visa process within that. So that's something I definitely say if you're looking to try. One, try get an internship and get your foot in the door as soon as you can and utilize the CPT. And then two, obviously understand the process that it takes so you can easily explain it to the possible employer that you're looking for.
That's a great point, George. And I just want to add to that too, for CPT and OPT sessions, you don't have to take that only when you're eligible. That's something that you could attend your freshman or sophomore year, just to kind of understand your choices and kind of prepare yourself a little bit more. So thank you for adding that, George. Would anyone else like to add about the resources that they used?
I found the Actuarial Student Association, those professional student organizations are super helpful. Using an Actuarial Associate, Toby was on eBoard, so give him a big kudos for all his contributions for sure. So they will have companies to come in and network to introduce about the company and share the positions they have. So when you go to those meetings, you actually see the people from the company, or you actually be able to talk to the hiring manager directly. So it's really good for them to know your name. First year, if you're only a freshman, doesn't hurt to go, and they know that there's someone there that's really interested in this career. To show them your passion is really important, especially as international student. You want to stand out. You want to give them. You want them to know, or just at least see your face as many times as possible. That even helps. So I think that was really helpful. And also go to career fair. Career fair is really helpful. I didn't apply at my current company online. And I literally just went to the career fair and handed in my resume, and I was asked to schedule for interview the second day. So companies do send hiring managers to the career fairs, and they do look at the resumes more directly on the career fair rather than the one that you apply online. So go to career fair and talk with as many people as you can. And they're most of the time they're alumni too. So it could be just one of us. So don't be afraid and introduce yourself. I found it really helpful that way.
Great. So moving on to the next question here. Have you met any obstacles or challenges at your company as an internationally experienced employee? Or has this experience been an asset?
It's definitely an asset, I can tell you. It's great. Like everyone's like, oh, it's so great that you have lived like in a lot of places, that you know a lot of people, that you can speak multiple languages. It can only add to your experience. Like I'm 23 years old, I'm new, and you know, my boss was like, I need you to come to this meeting with me because you're like really fluent in English and you can like talk, like you're really confident in yourself, like by going to live to different places, that takes a lot of courage. So it's just an asset, and just be proud of it, highlight it. It's one of your strengths. So definitely, you need to highlight it. You need to sell yourself as, I lived here and I went to study at Bryant, and it's an asset and it will only help you. So make sure that you highlight it for yourself.
That's a great point, Luisa. Would anyone else like to add if you've met any obstacles or challenges at your company as an internationally experienced employee, or if it's been an asset?
I can add. In my experience, luckily I work with an international insurance team. So we have teammates from all over the world, from like China, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, you name it, somebody from our team is from that country. So it always makes discussions interesting because you get different cultural perspectives, and everybody values that you have a unique perspective that no one else does. And in general, people are very curious about your culture and see how that can be an asset into the workplace. So yeah, so as Luisa said, wear it like a badge, be proud of it, because that's what makes you stand out from everyone else.
Great. That's a really nice point too about kind of understanding team dynamics as well, and what that can bring if you're used to going to different places and working with people who might have a background that's different than your own. It's a great point. Would anyone else like to add?
Yeah, I would just like to build on Toby's point. So part of my role is dealing with clients, and sometimes I get clients from part of the EMEA coverage that I do. In the mornings, I'll be dealing with clients from Asia Pacific. In the afternoon, late mid-afternoon, it would be clients from Europe. And in the afternoon, I'll be dealing with clients from the US. So I guess these interpersonal skills that you pick up as an international student are highly valuable, as you're able to relate to and at least understand where everyone sort of is coming from. So this is something that definitely is highly valued when you have a client facing role. So just wanted to build on that. It's team dynamics are great, but employers are looking for people that can sell the company and deal well with clients.
And these really are skills, and you might be used to living your day-to-day life in this environment, but it's important to kind of tap into the fact that these are skills of you living in another country and then applying that and making sure that you're showing any kind of future employer. Great. Would anyone else like to add? Okay, let's move to the next question here. So as we all know, the climate in the US towards non-US employees is ever changing. In looking for a job or opportunity in the United States, what skills and competencies would you advocate those in the audience should focus on while still in school?
So I guess I can jump in here, just because I had the tough experience, looking for jobs in the US. It's very competitive. You're not only competing against US citizens, you're competing against other international students, and there will be a limited number of spots because after all, you're competing for a visa. And there's the whole lottery system to this as well. But that being said, we have George, we have Toby here that have and Tammy that have managed to get jobs in the US. So I would say, job descriptions tell you exactly what the employer is looking for. During my junior year at Bryant, I started realizing that coding languages such as Python were coming up, not in the things that we were looking for. It would be great if you had these. So that's when I decided to start looking at like what are the Python courses or computer science courses are available at Bryant. Even if it meant taking like computer science for the natural sciences, just to get those skills onto your resume. You have to really make sure that your resume stands out, because at the end of the day, that HR person at that company is going to be making a case as to why they should hire you over a US counterpart that has a similar, if not the same resume. So how can you do that? At Bryant, there's so many opportunities. I think for example, the Archway Investment Fund, that's something that no other school has. So if you're looking to work in the financial services industry, definitely try to get into that. You will not manage money in finance at this point in your life, maybe till you're 30 or something like that. If you're, again, get involved in as much as you can. I think Luisa mentioned like getting in touch with professors, and can you do research projects with them on the side and get your name on papers? That would be really valuable.
Great, thank you. Would anyone else like to add, in looking for a job or opportunity in the US, what skills and competencies would you advocate to focus on?
Yeah, just to build off a little bit what Juan was saying in terms of trying to sell yourself to employers and stuff, pretty much in every concentration at Bryant, you're going to be involved within teamwork. So I know myself that with supply chain, the capstone project at the end of your senior year, you're working with a real life company trying to make savings for them, make process changes for them that's going to save them thousands, if not millions of dollars in a year. Take advantage of that. There's massive opportunity there that you can learn from not only people within your group, your professor, but also the company that you're working with. And then if you do a good job on that and you're in an interview and you can talk about that project and talk about how you saved the company $2 million in a year, that's absolutely massive compared to another student at another school who may not be working within a team like that. So take advantage of the team-oriented work at Bryant and take advantage of projects like that you can obviously then sell yourself within interviews.
Very nice.
I can add a little bit. So I guess to piggyback off of what George and Juan mentioned, looking into some of the trends that you see your industry is going through, and then trying to align yourself with what the future of that role may look like. So for example, in my freshman year, I got an internship with an insurance company back in South Africa. And then from there, I was in charge with looking at some of the industry standards and what the future of the role would look like. And it said that there was a huge emphasis on big data and like data analysis and being able to translate that and use those insights to create business decisions. So then in the years following, that's how I planned around what classes I would take. Hence why I got the whole applied stats concentration was in preparation of that. So looking into some of the trends within your industry and then tailoring your education towards that. A couple other things that I thought would be really helpful across the board, regardless of what industry you might be going into. I guess two would be curiosity and having a strong ability to learn, especially when you're new in the field. They understand most of the time that you might not know everything from day one. So a good indicator that you're really passionate about the field that you're in is to ask a lot of questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. So yes, don't be shy, ask anything you need, be it in the workplace, be it in the classroom. The more information you have, the better equipped you can be when you need to use that information in the future. And the last one has to do with emotional intelligence, which has to do with understanding yourself and how you affect the people around you with your thoughts, your actions, and your motivations, and also understanding other people and how those things affect them as well, so that you can be a good teammate and a great leader when the opportunity comes through. So those are a couple of things that I think would help a lot.
Great. All right, so moving to the next question here. Some of you have already kind of touched upon this, but to further elaborate, how did your Bryant experience prepare you for working and living in a different country that's not your home passport?
So as you know, I'm back in Mexico, so technically working and living at my passport home country. But I did do an internship in Dallas between my junior and senior year. Texas is far away from Bryant, you know, very, very different. And I think Bryant really prepared me for it. As Toby said, you know, being in a classroom that's small, that you're able to ask questions in your job, it's like the best thing you can do. You'd rather ask a question and do something right, get it right, than doing it wrong and then being like, you know, it's a time waste. So, you know, asking questions, being in a closed environment and having, you know, the courage to like raise your hand and be like, I don't get this. Like, can you please repeat it? Also, the teamwork, you know, all the presentations, all the teamwork. I know it's tedious, I know it can be hard, but that's what, you know, corporate life is, professional life is working with people that you don't know on a personal basis, that you don't know what they're doing, and then, you know, making it work, getting the best out of everyone and making it work. And as I said, presentations, you know, you think, oh yeah, I have a presentation for my, I don't know, whatever class. But you know, doing the executive summary, doing all the work to get that point across, that's a huge resource that not many people have. When you get to your workplace and you notice that people don't know how to do a presentation, it's basic to like, it's everything. It's how you get your thoughts, your points across. So really take advantage of those. I know sometimes it's like, oh, you know, it's just a project, but really see it as a practice for like when you get to your workplace, because it really, really makes a difference in how you stand out and how you present yourself to your coworkers.
Very nice. Would anyone else like to add to the question of how your Bryant experience prepared you for working and living in a different country?
I would say in my experience, I went to the AMICA Center to conduct a lot of mock interviews. When I was preparing for some of my initial stage interviews and my final stage interviews. But I guess from the beginning, with formal and being accustomed to US culture in general was where it started for me. And getting exposure to different professional experiences through career fairs and through some of the different actuarial societies events that we'd be invited to during class. Just getting that exposure from different individuals and bridging that culture gap was really important for me, I'd say.
Great. I love the formal shout out. Always love it. Would anyone else like to add?
I think just going off what Toby was saying in terms of bridging the cultural gap, that's a big thing. When you go over there, you're definitely going to be uncomfortable at first. You obviously, I was lucky enough I went into a team, but I can imagine if you're a student that wasn't going into a team setting and you're just going into a university that you're basically on your own, away from home for the first time, more than likely in your life. It's a massive opportunity to learn about different people, learn about different cultures. And I just say try to soak that in as much as you possibly can, because the more you can learn from people, the more you can pick up and you can apply it to your own life then as well.
Nice. So similarly to a past question, for those who hold positions outside of their home country, what core competencies are most valuable to you and also that the company that you work for?
I think one thing I want to emphasize is on the communication skill. So at the math major, a lot of people are expecting you to crunch numbers, but when it really comes to work, the key point is actually to get your numbers delivered to people that don't understand numbers. I remember when I was at Bryant, we even had presentations for math classes and group work for math classes, and whereas other people might not have those experience. And at first I was like, I thought I just wanted to solve my formulas correctly. I didn't want to give a presentation about my funding in the stats class. But later at work, I realized it's actually really great opportunities for me to practice my communication skill. And I think especially for the STEM field, what made you stand out eventually is actually your communication skill, because everyone will have the programming, the math skills, that needed, but the communication skill is what made you stand out.
Great, thank you.
So just to piggyback off of what Tammy said, being able to communicate not only in formal settings but also in informal settings, and managing relationships with your coworkers and the people above and below you, because that's how information spreads about how good of a candidate you are, is through the type of interactions that you have with people. Essentially, you want to have people who would champion you and would advocate for you to have these different opportunities based on the work that you do, but also the type of person that you are and the interactions that you have with people. So managing relationships, I'd say, is really important.
Great.
I think to go in another direction as well is the ability to think on the fly. A lot of time when you're in class, it's best case scenario of, let's say you're trying to forecast something, it's always best case, the variables are always there for you and stuff like that, but that's not going to be the case when you get into the workforce. I'm working within supply chain now, and strangely enough, I'm the only person within the supply chain department within my company. We're a smaller company, so there's a lot of, like, my direct supervisor is the president and the CEO of the company, so you can imagine it's difficult to try to get time from him. So there's a lot of time where I'm kind of left to myself to try figure it out, and I think that's an important task, to be able to trust yourself and back yourself. You might get it wrong, but that's okay, because you're going to learn from it and you move on to the next time and you won't get it wrong the following time. But to be able to think on the fly and be able to critically assess like a different situation, when the variables may not always be there for you, and then obviously tap into the people around you, even if they're not working in your department, they might be able to help you out and get you through a little situation like that.
Very nice. So it's kind of like problem solving, and also understanding if you do make a mistake, you learned it and you're good to go for the second round, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you think when you go into a company that there's so much pressure on you and stuff, and there is to an extent, but you're straight out of college. You don't necessarily know a lot. Realistically, you know the basics, and like you pick up a lot through your company and through your peers within the company. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's just, obviously don't make big ones, but but like I said, you learn from them and you pick up like very good lessons as you go along. So
very nice. Great. So our last question here for the panelists, and I hope that each of you take a little time to answer, is what advice do you wish someone had given you at the start of your career that you would offer now?
I think I've said it like different ways throughout this whole discussion. Just take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay. Don't compare yourself. I know it can be very stressful, looking for a job, especially when all of your friends are already getting jobs and you're like, what? I don't know what I'm gonna do. And it can be stressful. At Bryant, we're taught to excel and to do more and be more. But just take time to really think about what your goals are professionally, but also personally, and how you can look for a job that matches and that gives you a happy life as well. We spend a lot of time at work, especially now with the virtual home office. There's no time, like there's no schedule, like, oh, you end at 5. No, that doesn't exist anymore. So just make sure that you're gonna go to a place, to a job that you really enjoy and that you see a purpose for yourself, and that it matches with what you want to do with your personal goals as well. So yeah, just, it's gonna be okay. I know it's stressful, we've all been there, but it's okay. And if you want to talk to someone and just I don't know, cry, reach out. I've been there, and I would gladly love to listen to you.
Great. Yes, we all need that calming energy, especially now, right? Perfect. Would anyone else like to share some advice that you wish someone had given you at the start?
Yeah, so I mean, I have like 2 points here that I kind of want to briefly talk about. The first one would be LinkedIn and Alumni. At first, I was really scared to reach out to them and ask them questions. But I don't know why, because when I started doing it, I found that alumni are very willing to help you. And this meant that I was able to, I got to go to a couple of trading floors in New York and sit down with some managing directors and sort of have them, tell me more about the industry, because the more you know about the industry or the job that you want to do, the better you can make an informed decision as to where to go next. A tip that I can give people on LinkedIn is when you're adding an alumni, make sure you send them a message, because most of the time we won't know who is at the other end. So if you send me like, hey Juan, I noticed you're working at Bloomberg. Can you tell me about your job? I'd be more than happy to help you and sort of guide you along, rather than just getting a random request from someone in a different class. The second point would be make sure to maximize what you do at Bryant. I tried my hardest to do that. I was part of the swimming team. I was, part of the archery investment fund. I'm working on some papers that I'm trying to get published. But even then, I wish I could have done more. There's some great clubs and organizations out there that you can join that have great speakers come talk, great alumni. And it's all about building a network, because you never know where that might lead to in the future. So that's my 2 cents.
Very nice, thank you.
I guess I'll go then. I think one of the advice I have, if I were going back to 4 years ago, I would definitely say, pay attention to those classes that you think are useless. So as a math major, I thought I don't need to take a history class. What's the point for knowing global politics? But once you get to the work, so I was only focusing on the stats class, math classes that I was taking. But once you get to the workforce, all you do is what you learn, associate with what you learn in major classes. And I don't get a chance to know the global politics concepts anymore. I don't get a chance to learn science anymore. So now looking back, like the class I miss the most are actually the science classes, the public speaking random courses that I just decided to take senior year. And those classes sometimes just will randomly help you. My team was talking about ocean waves the other day, and I was able to use my oceanography random knowledge from that class to talk with the group, so it made me feel more engaged. Those just random little things can actually benefit you in the future. So pay attention to those classes. They're actually fun when you actually look into it. So yeah, that's my advice.
Great, thank you.
Oh.
It's poor time. From what I'd say is, when you start your job, trust yourself and back yourself in your skills, and also within just your social environment, within work and stuff like that. They hired you for a reason. Like, they think you're a good candidate. They see you long term with that company. They're not just hiring you for the sake of hiring you. So trust your skills. Speak up in meetings. Have your word with people within the company. And like I said, just back yourself, because they obviously see you as a good candidate within the company. You're bringing skills to the table that they had a void for. So fill that void, and then obviously look to try to climb the ladder then as quick as you can.
Great, thank you.
My advice is similar to what Luisa mentioned, is that you need to run your race at your own pace. It doesn't matter when you get to the destination, as long as you get there. And similar to what George said about backing yourself, I know that I struggled with imposter syndrome when I first started. Was this feeling of not deserving of the opportunities that I was given. But know that you worked hard to get here. You're smart enough, you're qualified enough, and you just need to go out there and kill it, because you deserve it. You've earned this opportunity. So grab it with both hands. But yeah, my 2 cents.
Great, that was all some really amazing advice. We're gonna quickly hand it over to Kevin Gaw, who's going to just remind all the students on the call about some of the resources that the AMICA Center has for international students.
Thank you. I just put in the chat a link that's on our web, the AMICA Center webpage. Hi, everybody. First of all, to the panel, you all are awesome. Okay, I mean, can you come work for me? And then we're gonna figure out a way to just take over the world. You know, we'll show them how to do career stuff. You all have great experiences, great insight, and I just so appreciate how you're sharing that with current students here at Bryant and with us, with me. So our office, if you know our office a bit, we have it's a small office. There's 8 of us now, and we have career coaching. And our coaches, what they do is they work with students who practice interviewing, for example, mock interviews, work with resumes. We also do a lot of the career fairs. Now, everyone mentioned career fairs from before. We're doing virtual career fairs now. Everything's virtual. It's really different. It's good, but it's different too. So it's a different kind of thing. But the employers really rely on students to engage in a virtual career fairs. That part is exactly the same, that you still have a one-on-one conversation with employers in virtual fairs. And but what's one of the benefits is you can still drop your resume with a recruiter or with an employer, even if you can't get in the line. You remember some of those lines with some of those employers were like, it seemed like it was 2 hours long. You can still drop your resume and get that call back, like Tammy that you got 2 days later, right? So we do that. We have a lot of interesting resources. A lot of schools use a product called Going Global. We actually dropped using Going Global and instead brought on board a product called Interstride. And we had international students take a look at it and they liked it. So that kind of sealed the deal for us. So it's on our website, it's in our resources tab, or if you go into we have a whole section of that was the link I just sent, that has items for international students, and it's there along with some other interesting resources that are useful. I would say, we do other workshops, like people talked about the LinkedIn profile. We have a LinkedIn profile, Amy Ames, who worked on Wall Street, really understands LinkedIn and does these workshops to help people. We do a lot of consultations on LinkedIn pages and whatnot. It's just, a full range of things. We're also an office that is willing to learn new things so that we can support you. So we're constantly doing that kind of stuff. We do professional development, and we also spend time learning about other things, even including CPT and OPT. And Emily and Karu are great. They help us learn to serve you all better. We're a friendly office. I hope people experience us that way. And we definitely want people to give us feedback because that's how we improve. We love working with y'all. And a little bit about me. I grew up outside of the United States. I'm a US passport. I was born in San Francisco, but I grew up outside the States. So when I came to the United States for college, I had something similar to some of you, I think, that experience. I had no idea what American football was. I knew what football was, but it wasn't what Americans played much. So George, you and I might share some, I don't know. It was different coming to the States. So I get that too. I really get that experience a lot. So that's enough about me. If anybody has questions, just give us a shout. We'll be able to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. And on behalf of OISS, I do just want to mention a few things about OPT. We do have OPT workshops and CPT workshops, so you're always able to attend those to get more of an idea of how to get started with it. But generally speaking, the application is done by the student, and there is a fee associated with applying. Something really important, though, is that you don't need a job offer to apply. And you really should apply as soon as you become eligible. So if you look back on your I-20 and you see your program end date, you can apply, you become eligible 90 days before that program end date. So really, as soon as you are eligible, and it doesn't matter if you have a job or not, you should at least try, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time to have all the paperwork processed. Another thing to mention about OPT is that students do select their own start date with a maximum of 60 days after the program end date. So again, if you look back on your I-20 and you see that your program end date is May 15th, you have over 60 days after to have your program start date for your actual position. So it gives you a little bit of time, a little bit of flexibility there. And on another note, if you are interested in something maybe beyond OPT, OISS will be having an immigration attorney come virtually on April 21st at 2 o'clock. So if you're interested in hearing from an immigration attorney about potentially options of like beyond OPT, then we will be sending out notifications for everyone to join that as well. So now we want to open it up for a little Q&A. Feel free to unmute and just ask your question or put it in the chat if you're more comfortable with that, but we'll leave a few minutes for anyone in the audience.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So I was just wondering, obviously you guys have all gone through like the interview process and everything, and kind of what I found, I'm a senior, so I'm graduating this semester, is it's kind of like you all said, it can get a little bit defeating, you know, going through the process just to be like shut down at the end after getting through. So then I like started like telling them up front, but then either nothing happens or they still go through with it and then there's like problems at the end kind of thing, and that just like keeps happening. And I was wondering how you guys all kind of approached the interview process, and if you had anything that worked when you were like trying to kind of get that in with the people that you were speaking with.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you? I would just say it's very intimidating. You know, you get nervous. You're like, oh my God, like, what are they expecting from me? At the end, you just have to be yourself, you know? I know it can be sad and like deterring when someone like it doesn't go through, but at the end of the day, you're gonna want to be at a place where you can be yourself. You know, you're not faking it. You're not saying like, oh, I can do this and I can do that, and then you're like there and you're like, you know, you want to get there by the right reason. So, you know, don't lose faith. I know it can be hard. I had a lot of rejections, a lot before I got my job. It just builds character. Every time you get rejected, you're like, you know, I know what this feels like and I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna try again. And it's just, for me, it's just being yourself, you know, being calm, being sure of who you are. As you know, a lot of my co-panelists said, you you have gotten here by your own merits, and you know, just be sure of that. Just keep that in mind when you're sitting there in that interview. And I'm sure everything will like be okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question?
I have a question. Hi.
Donna.
First of all, I wanted to thank the panelists for coming here, and then like, it's so nice to see Toby and like Luisa. I missed you guys, and and thank you for like giving like your advice, and then like for giving us your advice, and then sharing your experience. I think this question like it's more specifically to like one of the panelists, like to Juan. I wanted to ask about like how the hiring process was like for like you to like you said like you work in like London now. Like I was wondering if you could tell like a little bit more about how like the hiring like was, and then like how was like the visa, like the regulation process like it like is like in the Europe. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, Dana. So, um, you know, the visa process, I got lucky because I'm a Spanish passport holder, and I managed to squeeze in right before Brexit. So I arrived in the UK on the 28th of December, and you know, we exited the European Union shortly after that. So I was lucky that I don't have to deal with the visa stuff, and I wouldn't be able to advise further on that. However, for the interview process, I mean, wherever you are, the interview is going to be the same. Make sure something that made me feel better when I went into interviews was knowing that I did all the research I could possibly do into the company, into the role, into sort of what they are looking and going the extra mile. For example, like I was at an interview and I was telling them about some news article that I'd read, and they told me, "Oh, I didn't even know we did that." So, you know, how again, it goes to this whole idea of like standing out. If you've done your research, your skills will speak for themselves. That's the reason they are interviewing you. So I think the interview process is your time to shine and sort of like pull everything together. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
Thank you.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. All right. If not, we do want to provide you some different ways to stay in touch with the lovely, wonderful alumni who are here today, and then some additional ones as well. I do want to just say thank you so much to all of the panelists and everyone who put this together, because you all did a phenomenal job. And I think it was very reassuring for everyone to kind of hear your messages today. So thank you, and we appreciate it. I'm going to hand it over to Jessica Ding, who is going to provide some LinkedIn information.
Yes, well, I just want to say thank you to our panelists for coming today and sharing your valuable advice and knowledge and experience with all of us today. I mean, I definitely enjoyed hearing all your stories. I'm sure some of the students really got some good stuff out of you guys. I do have 2 other alumni resources for you guys today. They were not able to join us for our session, but had told me to share their LinkedIn information with you guys if you wanted to reach out to them. Just going off what Juan said about, you know, making sure that you send them a message, tell them who you are and that you're a Bryant student. They're more than happy to definitely become a resource to you. Along the lines of that, LinkedIn is a great resource, but we also have a networking platform of our own called Alumni Fire. We have over 2,000 members on it currently, and if you want, you can sign up. It's free. But basically, our alums have reached out to say, I'm here to help. And it's a great way for you to reach out and ask them questions, either for career advice or informational interviews or whatever you may need. But it's such an amazing tool. But I will put the link in here for you guys to sign up, but also another link for more information if you need that, if you need it. But thank you again.
Great. And I think we can hang on here for a few minutes in case anyone has additional comments or questions, but this does conclude our panel. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us. It was really fun to see all of you. And I
So
hope you're
nice.
doing fine.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. This was fun.
Bye. I know.